Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is Askeleto QZ back again with a video, and more so a review, as I had watched the Backrooms twice now, and I decided, fuck it, I actually have quite a couple things, as this movie is pretty significant, and especially with the current success, shit, why not talk about it? Forewarning, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm going to spoil and talk about everything in this movie, so if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend watching it before watching this review. If you have seen it, well, stick around and hear my thoughts. So our two main characters are Clark and Mary. Mary is a therapist who is suffering from some type of childhood trauma involving her mother, where her mother was, I believe, a schizophrenic and would kind of keep her and her daughter out from the world. She basically was a complete shut-in. She'd barricade the walls, cover up the windows, that kind of thing. As for Clark, he is basically a failed architect who now runs a furniture store and is barely getting by, and not to mention his wife had also left him along with the house. Now Clark discovers the back rooms and ultimately discovers it, and as he's trying to get proof of it with two of his employees, I believe Kat and Bobby, they ultimately end up, one of them gets killed by an entity in the back room, and as Clark and Kat try to save Bobby, they both end up getting separated. And we then cut to, I believe a couple days, maybe weeks, I'm not sure. It's implied that it's months. We're not really sure, and I'll get into that. But we cut to, Clark being in the back rooms for some time and completely losing his mind and sort of living amongst the entities. Mary, of course, goes to check up on him. She ends up getting kidnapped by him, and ultimately we get a very emotional scene between the two of them, and I'll get into that a little bit. But ultimately Clark ends up freeing her and gets killed by an entity that resembles him, but in a pirate costume, which if you have seen some of the teasers, you might know exactly which design I'm talking about. Actually, I'm just going to show you what the creature looks like anyways, but he gets killed. She ends up trying to escape, and ultimately she does escape. However, it's Async that comes to the rescue, as I guess they set up a trap for the monster. I don't know if they use some type of, knockout gas or something on the creature. They use it on her, and she ends up getting transported to the Async facility, and this is where Async kind of comes into play towards the end, and you can actually see them capturing, I guess they have the creature tied or something, and they start interrogating her and asking her, what is it that happened, and as I guess they're explaining their theories for the back rooms, that's where the movie cuts to a sequence of us seeing all the stuff that she remembered: the furniture store, her house, the wreckage, and ultimately herself in a disfigured form. So that's the short rundown. Again, I highly recommend watching this movie, alright? Now, one thing I gotta immediately point out is that this movie managed to do the impossible, where you don't have to see the series before watching this movie. You can legit watch this movie from beginning to end, and you'd still have a good time and have a good understanding of the back rooms, alright? You don't have to watch the other series. There's no important character references. Everything that was in the show is included here. However, if you did watch the show, there's going to be some things immediately that are going to point out. It's like, okay, I know what this is. I'd seen this in the show. Okay, that makes sense. And even then, if you haven't watched that show, the movie sort of gives you enough hints where you can put the pieces together and figure it out on your own. And I think the biggest example is the still life. We had seen that prior in the show, and I believe it was in the last or second episode before the movie came out. However, in this movie, it is introducing it and treating it as a first time, where it is explained that the still life is actually the back room's attempt at creating life in and of itself, trying to create it people. However, since everything in the back rooms is being created from memories, it's not a one-to-one creation. There's always going to be flaws, not just with places, but also the people. Hence why there's no real feeling, there's no real vocabulary or intelligence. They just sort of do things. Granted, there's still some level of consciousness as they attacked they attack or respond to commands. When we saw, Clark sort of telling the creatures what to do, especially when he was trying to talk to the Pirate Clark is what the fans dubbed it. And we even see a photo of him working with him, and we see a whole mural of painting of the creature getting worshipped, or, it looks like Clark has been working with this creature for a time as he had been feeding him people. From the looks of it anyways, just judging from that painting. And to me, this was the most important hurdle for me, honestly, as this is quite a big hurdle that even to this day, Marvel and Disney have to overcome with every, movie they release. Do I have to watch this and this and this before watching this, or to get the whole story? And luckily, in this case in particular, it didn't. This isn't like a Marvel Hornet situation where the movie did not respect the previous source material or all the stuff that came before when it came to the Marvel Hornet series. Can we also just talk about how good the practical effects are in this movie? Like, in a day and age where we just get a bunch of CGI or AI slop fest, it is nice to see a movie use practical effects. I mean, they legit build a backroom set, and almost all the crew members got lost while filming this movie. That is impressive. And also, the switch between found footage and normal, it's amazing. I absolutely love that. Honestly, when you're looking at the found footage, it feels like you're watching a Kane Pixels video straight, like on the big screen. That's how good it is. And the cinematography in this movie is absolutely beautiful. It gets you, in the mood. It gets you in the world. It does a good job of, feeling the world and everything. There never feels a moment in this movie where a shot is being wasted or anything. Like, it is really good. And on top of that, the music complements it so well. Kane Pixels worked on the entire soundtrack of this. And if you, have listened to some of the songs he uses in the series, you're going to notice a couple, you're going to notice some familiar tunes used. And I like that as well. Now, the characters and the story as a whole in this movie, it's good. It does a good job. Both Mary and Clark's character arcs in this movie are great. We see someone like Clark, who is an architect, being completely obsessed with the back rooms. In the movie, we see him try to map it out and realizing that none of it makes sense. So someone who is an architect would obviously be obsessed with it. And the idea that he did become obsessed with it, and he can live a life there of calmness and, being forgotten. You understand why he sort of goes insane. However, that leads to an issue, which I'll get into in a bit. And as for Mary, you sort of feel for her. You understand why she tries to, be a therapist, why she tries to help as many people as she can, as, no one was there for her mother, and she herself, feels responsible for not helping her. So it's why I like the dinner scene, because there's so much emotion. It's where both characters end up realizing that, for one, Clark can't keep blaming the world for his problems when he himself is the problem, and he's gonna have to change. And he realizes he doesn't want to change. He has to accept himself for the flaws and continue going forward. And then as for Mary, she realizes she can't help everyone. You can't always help everyone, no matter how hard you try. Sometimes not everyone needs saving. However, this is where it gets to one of the issues I have. For one, we don't really see Clark's descent into sanity, or, doing the whole villain turn. We don't really see that. I mean, it's hinted at that there was some time spent in the back rooms, especially when we are seeing, paintings and the bills piling up on his store, and even, Async getting a photo of him next to the creature. It's obvious that some time has passed, but we don't really see that. We just skip forward, and even then, we don't know how much time has passed. And keep in mind, time in the back rooms is different to time passing in the world. So, was he there for months, years, weeks, days? Who knows? And I really wish we got to see that, especially from a very talented actor who plays Clark. It would have been really nice to see it. And this leads to my other issue. Async. Async as a whole, we don't really see, that much in this movie. They're not really that prominent until the very end or in the beginning. And that's the very unfortunate thing. Now, I know we do see, some interactions or some little sprinkled things with async, especially throughout the movie with the one scientist viewing everything, but that's about it. You know, we never get to see async raid the facility or the store or, you know, wipe down everything. We don't really see that. That would have been at least somewhat interesting. But really, async is there just for sequel bait. That's really what they're there for. And most likely we are going to be getting a sequel, since Kane himself has said that he wants to do a sequel. And I mean, look at the amount of success this movie's made. I mean, just on previews alone, it broke its own budget. So a sequel's definitely in place. And if they do a sequel, I hope it's an anthology series, more so where like every movie is, you know, a different experience with the back room with different people. It would be very interesting. I mean, that's one of the things about the back rooms, is that you really it doesn't have a main character. Every person has a different interaction, different interpretation, that whole thing. So it would be nice if, you know, that's what we got in the sequel, instead of, you know, using the same old characters, or in this case Mary as sort of the, you know, main character, and really only having async as the glue. But who knows, maybe there's a reason why he didn't use async that much. Async is a heavy focus in the series, so that's probably why, but who knows. But apart from that, those are really only my main two issues with the movie. Everything else, soundtrack, cinematography, horror, characters, everything is effects, everything's amazing. And you know what, I highly suggest watching this movie. I seriously do. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out my other videos, and let me know if you want me to do, you know, movie reviews, or, you know, talk about movie stuff in general. All right, because this was kind of fun to do. So anyways, with that being said, I am out.